Hi guys, I'm Amahle.
Ndemiso.
Sandile.
Charles.
I am admin, HR, finance, logistics,
Business data.
event planner, project manager, yeah, all of it. All of it.
Manager and director.
I do all of the strategic planning at the agency and the event side as well, yeah.
At the agency, I'm the accounts director, so it's my job to beg for money and try get our brand out there as much as possible.
I serve as the creative director on both the agency side and the event side.
Yeah, I think in terms of today's conversation, it's a bit awkward for us because we didn't know what to say, first of all. So we were thinking about how we're going to approach, obviously, the talk and everything. And I think the way that we came about how we're going to go forward is maybe speaking on the poignant points in terms of our journey from the tennis court to where we are now that really mattered. Because everyone obviously knows the same spiel because we'll go through how we started here and ended up there. But no one actually knows the points when we decided to go from just throwing parties to being event planners, to actually running an agency. The beginning stages where we felt like we actually could go from just throwing parties to being event planners, I think was the second Genesis. Yeah, second Genesis, where we started learning about chalk. We started learning about the fact that you can't just throw a party wherever you want. You have to apply in advance. You can't just put people in one specific space without actually going through certain processes. And the biggest struggle there was that no one actually taught us how to do that. So it was a lot of manual labor in terms of going forward and learning the processes, visiting police stations, etc., etc. The hardest part, I think, at that stage for a company that was literally running on its own money, because we had an annual sort of pot that we put in every month. I think it was 2,000 Rand a month.
It was 100 Rand.
Oh, 100 Rand, yeah.
That would accumulate to 1,000 Rand a year.
Yeah, but yeah, I meant like as the business, like
because some months you guys would forget and we'd end up with like 11,000 Rand out of it.
Yeah, so at that point, funding was really limited as a resource, number one, because we're using it ourselves. And secondly, as black people who transitioned from throwing parties to being event planners, the market was very stifled and it wasn't normal for us to actually do festivals, which is when Shaz started coming into his role, and maybe he'll speak on some of his struggles, where we had to gear our presentations towards actually creating mechanics for companies and not necessarily them just giving us money so we can throw whatever we wanted. So maybe you can go through that process for you.
Thanks. I think from our end, I think it really became work after that second Genesis. I think the first couple of years were fun because we were in varsity and we were getting girls and guys. And the game changed when brands wanted meaningful insights, when they wanted us to give them what the ROI was, and we really had to learn what we were actually doing. And that was the transition into the business aspect of event planning, and can share some horror stories. I remember that second Genesis, Miller, who I love to death now, pulled out, and
First Genesis,
they pulled out, and we were just looking at each other, and thank God that we've been so passionate about what we do that we made sure the thing happened. And that's the only thing I tell people when they ask us about our jobs is, firstly, we're passionate about what we do. So the probably the funnest parts of our jobs is when we didn't have money, and getting to where we are right now, we've been blessed. But I always still remember that whole journey from not knowing what we're doing to kind of knowing what we're doing, because you're never ever perfect at this job, you know. We work with Opi Kopi and we work with various festivals, and there'll always be what you guys don't see in the background where people are breaking down and crying, and I don't want to get into the whole thing, but that's when it really became a business, and all the time we're trying to educate ourselves into bettering what we do. So like I said, it's my job to beg for money, and I think I'm doing okay with that.
It's not doing too badly.
I also think another thing that makes us quite unique is this all literally happened by mistake. So Shaz is a lawyer by profession. That's what he got his degree in. You got a BCom, right? Charles did some finance or whatever. Ndu's the only one I study politics. Ndu's the only one who's actually was born, decided to become a strategist and is actually doing strategy. So it's like, it gives us a different edge in terms of understanding things, because we've got all these minds that have studied other things, doing eventing and in agencies and stuff like that. So it helps the fact that we didn't, almost as if this life chose us.
Yeah. And I think that became prevalent after that genesis, when before then I was literally the designer, because I was like on Photoshop trying to do like cutouts and
You
stuff
should
like
come
that. I'm never going back to that. But at that point, that's when we decided what we want to do as individual roles. And then Charles decided to step up while he was still studying, and then he went to Vega, and everyone was trying to organize themselves. But it was still difficult because I had my day job. I think you were still doing articles. He had then gone to school, Amy was still studying, and then you were working at your father's company. So I think at that time we all had to start making those decisions that would map up literally the next 3 years, because it wasn't a sense of one person running a business. All 7 of us are directors. So we were always hesitant, like, if I make this my day job, will I really get money from it, won't I? And then I think that turned around when we reached our second phase, and that was when Ultra invited us to be the first hip-hop stage at Ultra, like, worldwide, which was like weird for us, because we're like, such a small stage over there, but the impact was so great. And at that point we realized that maybe we actually have insights and conversational points that people can engage with. And then we moved on from then and decided to be an agency fully. I think that's when I left my job. Around about that time I left my job. Tulani decided to leave his job because his dad was like, okay dude, like, can't keep doing other things at Span. Mfumo decided to leave as well, because I think he got fired for printing. One of our previous events, he printed like 10,000 flyers. But that shows that resilience. I think Sandile probably was the person who had to take the biggest leap of faith just after completing articles, to actually say, I'm not going to do what my parents paid so much money for to do after I've struggled. I think you've studied for 7 years. You got 3 degrees. Two degrees, like literally, So these were the decisions that we're now making. And when Ultra called us, the first thing we said was, whoa, that's a global brand, number one. 2, it's white people, which is weird for us. And then I think most importantly, it was a place where we realized that this can be our occupation and it can be our day job. And the events that we'd done up until that point, we were treating like a step-by-step sort of fulfilling a fun purpose, more than actually making this your holistic life. And then after that, we transitioned into the space that we're about to go into now. The biggest, I think, fear with that second phase and that second space was the lack of surety. As a business, we weren't necessarily aggressive about being an events company, but we also weren't aggressive about being an agency. So that was the murky waters that we had to like navigate through. And I think someone who really steered us in the right purpose was, I think it was you, Amy, when we had our first meeting to start the Breakaway agency. Like a small one, So we like had created a little tribe.
I don't think the other guys know about that.
Well.
So we once had a meeting.
It's an exclusive, breaking news.
So we once had a meeting. It was about 4 of us. It was myself, Honks, Ndu, and Charles. And we were going to create our own agency outside of Until, because most people didn't want to start an agency. They wanted to do events. I'm sorry, Shaz. I'm sorry, you were there?
I was there.
Oh yeah, you were there, So I think after that secret meeting, there were lots of meetings, Shaz, I'm sorry. We then decided
That's why we're here today. That's why we survived.
It was gonna be called Nude. Yeah, it was gonna be called Nude. Yeah, sorry.
And yeah, I think at that phase that she was explaining about, that's when the surety started coming. So we were like, okay, cool, what's going to happen? And then 3 of our members, I think, that were left from the initial 4 of our members from the initial 11, we had seen that they wanted to go on different paths. And that from that first conversation, that led to when we actually became an advertising agency, fully black-owned, entrenched in culture. I'm trying to sell us here if anyone's in the crowd. But yeah, that's when we decided that we really want to work. And we had, I think, the first tough decision as a company, which is letting people go. And someone who will champion and maybe explain a bit of that process is Shares. Yeah.
Why do I have to explain us firing people? But anyway, I mean, at certain points, like I said, through our journey, we went from having fun to it becoming a full-fledged business. And we had to make some real grown-up decisions to say, what do you bring into this company? And I think you guys, maybe you're starting your own business, and in an entrepreneurial space, you'll have to ask yourself very hard questions. What does this person bring, and can I keep them around? And it was even harder for us because we were really close friends. That also makes, I think, our business very unique because it's basically a family business. But to make hard decisions in a family business is very tough, and we're still dealing with a lot of those things to this day. Going back to what Ndu said, and I think as black people, because I can say we are all black people in this room. I think as an agency, what we're trying to do and break the mold is that you don't have to be a doctor, an accountant, a lawyer for you to attain some level of success in South Africa. And when I speak to young people about that, it's so important to me because in those industries we hardly own anything, and we're trying to build legacy. And I always try to instill that upon other young black people is try to build one on your passion point, and try monetize that passion point, and try keep it 100% yours for as long as you can. And that's my little bit of a holier than thou or black thought moment. Yeah, that's Ndu.
Yeah, that led us to where we currently are now. I think we're in the first stage of actually being a business, and that tension is probably the culmination of a good 4 years, because it's our 5th year operating now as a company. Culmination of important life stages.
4th year.
4th. Oh,
I do
4th year
admin,
going
4th
in. Yeah. Of taking those grown-up decisions. And I think the worst part, which is also the best part, is that you then realize that you're an entrepreneur. You know, none of us actually have salaries. I don't know how we make it every month. Literally, we struggle with car payments, struggle with work, but the business in itself is actually being built now. It's something that we own. We don't owe anyone money, and most importantly, it can run from anywhere. And that company structure is now coming into fruition with the brands that have decided to partner with us. You know.
I just want to tell you guys the realities of owning a business, or especially an events business. So what basically happens is, as the consumer, you walk in and you see 3,000 people, and you say 3,000 times 150 a head. Oh my God, they must be so rich. AKA is 140,000 rand. Fencing is like 40,000 rand. Toilets cost like 26,000 rand.
Stage costs like 150,000.
Stage costs like 100,000 rand. So you basically, you count all those heads and they cover your overcost, and if you don't have sponsors, you don't make anything. So on the point that Ndu's making of us not having salaries, we had to, because salaries in a company are the thing that kills your cash flow. So basically we had to make a decision, and I think that's one of the, so it's painful, but it's something that's helped us in our ways, that we had to make a decision that we were never going to owe anyone money, which is always important. We will go down to 600 rand in our account, but every single human being that we know is paid. For instance, these guys all live at home. Shaz still lives at home, Charles lives at home. Tulani and myself are the only ones that are from other cities where we come from, so we have no choice but to rent. So the way we do it, basically, we just help where we can, like Shaz will pay off your car and stuff. And it's tough, and you have to realize that as an entrepreneur, you're going to go through 6-7 years of just hell. But hopefully there's like light at the end of the tunnel.
I really hope.
Yeah, otherwise we're screwed because I took a semester off for this.
I think just to as a theme of what's being discussed currently is that what we are very good at is that we're very resourceful. From the jump, we were resourceful. We had nothing. We were putting in 100 rand in to throw parties, and we made it work. We did things we didn't think we could, and because we were so creative and resourceful, we managed to do great things. I think as an entrepreneur, you've got to think outside the box. You can't think that I can't achieve this thing because I don't have the funding to achieve it. I can't go get from point A to point B because this is not the conventional way of other people are doing it. You've got to think outside the box. You've got to break norms. Like, there's no other way to say it.
And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the most expensive guy. This guy creates all the expensive lineups and fire and this shooting out of stages. And I'm the one who has to say no.
It's easy to ask. I always say dream big, ask for big things.